The first campaign we have launches on October 18th, and it's called DreamWeavers. And this plays 2 to 6 players and takes about 60 to 90 minutes to play. And this is a turn-based game where players are going to be weaving dreams for different subjects that are going to change throughout the game. Players are going to be trying to balance a dream meter that you can see at the top of the board here. And the red side represents more nightmarish dreams, while the blue side represents more paradise dreams. And neither of these is better or worse than the other. Different subjects will come onto the main board here, and they are the ones that are doing the dreaming, and they're going to have a name as well as some fun artwork. What you're seeing here is just outline prototype work. The actual artwork looks really great, and they also have some special abilities that will come into play, and they will affect all players, or they can also present different scoring opportunities. But there's also a little diagram underneath their name here that will dictate how the dream meter moves depending on the cards that the players play. Each card has a different dream type or color, and depending on the color that you play, you're going to have to check this diagram to see how that maps to the dream meter, and then you move the dream meter appropriately. And the dream meter is one of the main ways to score points in the game, and as you can see, there's a similar meter on the subject's card, and this one on the subject's card just represents their preference for different types of dreams. So different areas on the dream meter will actually score different amounts of points, so you may want to steer towards those or away from them, depending if you feel like you're going to score those points or your opponent. And this is a team-based game, so players will be playing together either on the blue side or on the red side. And the other way that players can score points is by completing different objective cards, and players can do that by having a certain set of cards inside the dream pool. And the dream pool is a really interesting aspect of this game because it uses a spatial element where you're placing cards into a space on the board, and no card can touch another card in the dream pool, and no card can go outside the perimeter of the dream pool. So depending how you place your cards, you might leave more or less space for your opponent player, which is important because if there's not enough space in the dream pool for another card, then your actions are limited and you're often forced to take a specific action. And a player just takes one action on their turn, but they have 4 to choose from, and the first one is to play a card into the dream pool. And there's 2 types of cards. There's whimsical and astral cards, and the whimsical cards will have a color on it, and when you play that card into the dream pool, it's going to manipulate the dream meter. But then it also has an ability that can trigger at certain parts of the game. It can either trigger when you play it, or when a dream is completed, or it may require other cards of a certain type in the dream pool before it can be activated. Each whimsical card you play into the dream pool requires that team to put a token on it, and those are a resource in the game, and once you have enough of them in the dream pool, you can actually claim the dream for your team, which gains you victory points. The astral cards are free to play, but they have to touch one of your whimsical cards already in the dream pool, and the benefit of these is that they can grant you some more powerful special abilities, and they can also be used to complete different objectives. The problem with these is that you don't get to put an essence token on it when you put it into the dream pool, so it's not helping you towards the goal of trying to claim the dream. And the next action you can do is claim an objective, and to do that you have to have the matching cards in the dream pool that the objective card specifies, and the objective cards are really nice because they can guarantee you certain points of a certain type of color, which I'll get to shortly. The next action to perform is to claim the dream, and to do that you need to either have a certain amount of essence in the dream pool, or you have to be unable to place a card into the dream pool because there's not enough space. And to do that, your team is going to claim points based on where the dream meter is and how that maps to the dreamer's preference on their subject card. Players will then place an eye token underneath the subject card, and most subjects wake up once there's 3 eye tokens there, but there's also light sleepers that wake up on 2, and deep sleepers that wake up on 4. Whenever a dream is completed, the board gets reset and players start again, but if the dreamer has woken up, then players will swap out the card for a new card with different abilities and different preferences for their dream types. And the last action a player can perform is the recharge action, which allows players to take any mix of 4 cards and essence tokens, but it is restricted by their individual essence and card hand limits. In the draw deck, there's also sun cards, and these act as a timer towards the end of the game because if 8 ever get drawn, it triggers the last round of the game. Some sun cards can also cause some special effects, like putting your dreamer into a lucid dream, which will have some environmental effects that affect all players as long as it's in that state. And victory points are scored on 2 different tracks. There's the Nightmare track and the Paradise track, and players are going to score points based on their lowest value on either of the tracks. This means that each team is going to be trying to have an equal mix of both types of points, since their lowest one is the only one that gets counted. Definitely a really interesting game here, and it is one that I played and I thought it was a lot of fun. I really like the way that the spatial element worked with the ability cards, because it really limits the amount of cards that you'll be able to play before a dream is completed and those cards are wiped away. So you're really going to want to be efficient with your cards, because certain abilities can only activate if certain other cards are there. So trying to match those types of cards while also working towards either an objective or completing the final dream, I think is a really fun puzzle. And I was a little skeptical at first about the theme, because dreams are a little bit abstract to begin with, but I think they did a really great job tying the theme with the actual gameplay. So if this is one that sounds interesting to you, definitely check out their campaign page. I have a link in the description below and you can click to get notified.